Okay, we got the Maamar of Tavshin Lamed Tes. We're going to learn it. In this booklet, it's on page Chav Dalid. Okay, that said, Basi, LeGani, Chaysikala. Like we said, that the Rebbe every year would speak to Maamarim, Basi, LeGani, Chaysikala, and that particular us. And this year would be us Tes, which was the same year, Tavshin Lamed Tes, and Tavshin Yud Tes, and so on and so forth. Okay, so he said, Basi, LeGani, Chaysikala, maybe, Balilu, but Maamar Shanit, and Lam, the Bim is Taukat Lula of Yitzvat. The Friedrich Rebbe brings on in the Maamar that he wrote for his Taukas, Mashakos, Medrash Shirim Rabbi. It says in the Medrash Shirim, LeGani, LeGnuni. LeGani, to my dwelling, the garden. LeGnuni, which means to my dwelling place, the Menachem Shoyi Ikar B'tchil. Like we learned yesterday, the Ikar Shechina was down here, the Shechina left, and then Moshe Rabbeinu by Matan Torah brought the Shechina back down. The Ikar Shechina B'tachteinem Haisa. The main Shechina before Chetei Tzadas was down here in the world. Through the non-good things, I mean simply the bad things, the 7 sins, also Shechina Momata Lamaila. The Shechina went from lower to higher until through the 7th sin, it went all the way up to the Kiyah Aleph, to the first heaven up there. And then Imshichu Shivat Tzadikim. And then the 7th Tzadikim got up. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kahos, Amram, Moshe. And they brought the Shechina back down from the first heaven back down to earth. The Moshe Rabbeinu was the 7th. And all 7 are precious. In other words, the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu was able to bring it down was because he's the 7th generation. Brought the Shechina back down from the heaven, back down to the earth. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded. And he said, like we said, Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Shechina back down by Matan Torah. But he had to keep it down. So how did he keep it down? Hashem told him build a Mishkan, and the Mishkan was the home of Hashem.
Shechina went to Zion Rakia. How did the whole earth function?
No, the Gilu Shechina. Yeah. By day, Pulasei, and through the Pu'ul of Moshe Rabbeinu bringing the Shechina down by Matan Torah and the Mishkan, it becomes, like he quoted the passage, Tzadikim Yishu Oretz. Tzadikim inherit the land. V'yishkenu lohad oleha. Simply mean they will live there forever. But in the Maamar, the Friedrich Rebbe defines the Yishkenu, they're going to bring down lo'ad, Hashem, who lives forever, oleha, onto the earth. It doesn't only mean that they inherit the earth forever. The Yishkenu, they're going to bring down the level lo'ad, lahashkem b'china sheichin ad marim v'kadish. They're going to bring it back down to earth. And that's what it says in the quoted desire. This is often the first Maamar, right? Of the Friedrich Rebbe, that the Kaddish Kaf Yisitra, when you break evil, is talik yikorid kudshubrichu. And the Rebbe explained in the earlier Maamarim, even though the word is stalkus means to leave, even though stalkus normally means when the tzaddik passes away, but the Zohar says it's stalkus meloshin shegili or b'chinas reimemis shelachei nikra b'shem stalik sheyom shech LeGani LeGnuni l'makom shoyu b'tchila. Meaning like this: his stalkus normally means leave. Yet the Zohar says kadaskaf, whoever says it, kadaskaf yisitrachra. He's stalik, yikorid kudshubrichu. So simply, the Friedrich Rebbe defines it over there, that through the level of breaking evil, you reveal, is stalik, yikorid kudshubrichu, you reveal the level of godliness, b'chulu almin in all worlds. But l'chayr, stalik means to leave, not to reveal. So he says, what does his stalik mean? His stalik means that you're revealing a level of elokus that's normally not revealed. That's what istalik means. This is what the Rabbi writes in the original Basi LeGani also. Istalik means that you reveal, like he says, what are you revealing? Sheyagili erd b'bchinas reimemis. It's a level of elokus which is normally removed from the world, and therefore it's called istalik, that it leaves the world. And what happens? Sheyom shech LeGani LeGnuni, you bring it down to the garden, to my dwelling place. L'makom shoyik b'tchila b'elam hazah tachten ba'aretz aluzah tachteina. The Yishkenu, Lo'ad, and they bring down What do they bring down? This level of istalik, a level of elokus which is higher than world, and he brings it down, aleha, into the earth, meaning b'tachtoinim. Kfi shebor begilu pel mamsheki taka came in a revealed way. In va'asuli migdosh shaideis and nasiv shechanti b'seichem. And therefore it becomes not only in the Mishkan, the Beis Hamikdash, b'seich kol echad ve'echad me Yisrael. Okay? Within every single Jew. So this paragraph, again, what the Rabbi would do is go briefly through the Maamar to get to the points, and then he finally elaborates on the Eis test. Okay, so he says, and he continues, but he doesn't go into Eis test until Beis. But the Mamshech Maamar, and he continues in the Maamar, it explains at great length. How this level of bringing down Elokus, which is above world, in fact, the Rebbe elaborates, the Friedrich Rebbe and the Rebbe elaborates, is Talik Yikored Kutshabrichu B'chulu Almin, means he brings down the level of Elokus, simply means into the worlds. But the Friedrich Rebbe explained, the Rebbe elaborates, that B'chul Almin means a level of Elokus that all the worlds are equal. And he explains, this is Mamala Kol Almin, Atzilus is higher than Bria and higher than Yitzir and higher than Asiya. And the level of Sefer V'Makiv, Sefer Kol Almin, then the highest and the lowest are the same. Chochma Sisa, the highest level Chochma and the lowest level is the same. So what happens when a person breaks evil? Is Talik, you bring down, you call it the Kutshabrichu, you bring down this super great level of Hashem, which is normally above world, B'chulu Almin, a level of Elokus which is equal in all worlds. And where do you bring it down here? When a person breaks evil. Okay, so he says, Eich mispata David binyani mishkan. And in Eis Vav, like he says at the bottom, the Friedrich Rebbe explains at great length how this happens in the Mishkan. Because what are we saying? That the Mishkan was the home of Iker Shechina within every single Yid. So we have to understand, how do you have this Iker Shechina in the Mishkan and in the Avoid of the Mishkan? And he says, Shazel Mashanama, this is what the Pasuk says, Vasisa Kroshim La Mishkan. You should make the boards from the Mishkan, Atzi Shitim Aimdim. Okay, and the Rebbe rips apart these words. Kroshim, Atzi Shitim Aimdim. He's going to rip it apart. The original Maamar. The Hine, Tev is Kaddish, the word Kaddish, which is singular. For Kroshim, Yashnam Gimel, Eisi is Kufrei Shin. Right? Kaddish is spelled Kufrei Shin, which are really the same letters as the word Sheker, Shin Kufreish, which is Sheker, falseness. And he says, the Sheker hu eipech ha'emes. Sheker is opposite of emes, which is Teidas emes, u'mitzvisa, and the mitzvahs of Teidah that it says, v'chai b'am, you should live with him. So l'chayra, what's Sheker and Kaddish? L'chayra, it seems to be contradictory a little. Sheker is falseness, contrary to Torah mitzvahs, and Kaddish is the building the Mishkan for the home of Hashem. But he says, Achi de Avedosim shall Yisrael. But through the Aved of the Yidden, in the level of Yishkan, Allah allowed to reveal Elokus into the world, what they accomplish is, Mahaprim es Sheker ha'elam. They transform the falseness of the world. So this is what the Yidden do. What do? They take Sheker and they turn it into Kaddish. They turn it into the Mishkan, which is Hashem's home. How do they do that? Through the Aveda of Torah mitzvahs. That's why the boards were made out of Atzei Shitim. In other words, first of all, they didn't have to be called Kaddish, Kroshim. There's other words for boards. Secondly, why are they made from Atzei Shitim? So he says, first, Kaddish is Sheker to Kaddish. And he says, Tev is Shitim, rememez al shtus kepshutei. Shitim comes from the word shtus. That's what it means.
Folly.
Huh?
Spirit of folly.
Folly. Shazel hashtus, the ilam hazet, which is the shtus of... In fact, it said, Vayeshiv, so one of the places the Eden stopped in the mid was Vayeshiv Yisrael b'Shitim. And it says, because over there they sinned with the Bnei Ismail. So over there it says, why? Because it was shtus. They did a foolish thing by sinning. Shalzer this is what the Gemara says that Reish Lakish said. Ein odem eved aveda elam ke nichnas bei ruach shtus. The only way a person could do an aveda is because of foolish spirit, which we call today temporary insanity. That's what it is actually. Temporary insanity. Hainu. What does it mean? Temporary insanity. She'ish yisrael mitzad atzmei, a yid himself, the neshama and the body of a Jew, ein shaykh l'inyan shel aveda. It's not possible that a Jew. It says in the Gemara. It says, Chassidus brings it down that an animal that jumps into fire is a crazy animal. So Chassidus said, what does that mean? A person, when they sin, is partially getting burnt. They're burning themselves. They're hurting themselves. So a normal person doesn't do things to hurt themselves. So why does a person sin? Because nichnas bei ruach shtus. Now what does that mean? That the ruach shtus, what is the ruach shtus telling him? The ruach shtus, the Friedrich Rebbe writes, he tells him, so he sinned a little bit. It's not a Avodah Zarah. You don't do Avodah Zarah. They trade if you said Lashon Hara, you desecrated Shabbos. Big day you didn't put on tefillin. So big deal, what did you do already? You still believe in God, you're still, connected. What's the big deal? The truth is, he says, every Aveda is Avodah Zarah. Why is every Aveda Avodah Zarah? Because Hashem is standing right over you. You mean Hashem needs of Olav. Yeah, Hashem is watching what's going on, and you go in front of the Eibishter's presence, and you go worship, do an Aveda. So you're basically denying the existence of Hashem at that moment. Because if you would feel Hashem, like Rabbi Yechim Zaki said, after Rebbe brings on his deathbed, you should fear Hashem at least as much as you fear a person. If you picture Hashem that He's watching you, then you'll never come to sin. The fact that a person does sin, because they're denying that Hashem is watching him, that Hashem is present. And he says, whether the shtus is mitzvah shel minatera, or mitzvah drabanan, afil al minig Yisrael, even a Jewish custom, that because minig Yisrael teirahi, and so the only way a person is possible to sin, because nichnas beiruach shtus me'olam, the foolishness of the world come to try to impact the person in a negative way. Me'helem ve'hester, from the concealment, because elam means concealment, blockage. It's the helem ve'hester shemitzada elam, shemisaviv u'michutzale, which is around the person and outside the person. So therefore, the person normally sins through the ruach shtus. That's why it was made for matzi shitim. What's the role of the Jew? To take the shtus that caused the yid to sin, that causes the shechina to leave, so to speak.
What does it mean? The shtus has to get revealed from Helam and Hester, and it's
no, not
outside?
It's not the shtus from the shtus of, not from of.
Oh, the shtus that comes from
of. Me'elim doesn't mean from, it means or of. But through doing the aved of shtus of kedusha, the Gemara tells a story. The Friedrich Rebbe and the Maamar elaborate. It brings down the story with details. But again, the Rebbe is getting to Perek Tes. One of the Maamarim of the Gemara danced crazily at weddings. And Chacham said, you're embarrassing us. So the Gemara says, when that rabbi died, a pillar of fire came down from heaven to separate the body from the rest of the world. So the same rabbi that screamed at him, you're embarrassing us, said to him, Sava means old man. The shtus that you did at weddings, that's what made you so, it helped you, that's what made you so great. So, as the Friedrich Rebbe writes, shtus, okay, when you hear shtus, it means foolishness, but it doesn't mean foolishness necessarily. Shtus means turning off the middle path. That's what Rashi says. Okay, there's a normal path of Torah mitzvahs, and you could turn. You could turn down, so it's shtus of evil. You turn above normal, like a Navi is called Meshuggah. It brings down in the mind, Mador Ba Meshuggah Zeh. Nasan the Navi is called Meshuggah. What do you mean Meshuggah? He's not a normal person. When you say not normal, by us it means below normal. But tzaddikim are also not normal people. But not normal in a negative way, not normal in a higher way. So shtus means to turn. So what do? the Mishkan was made Atzi Shitim, which is the cause of Avedas, the Nichnas by Ruch Shtus, and the role is to transform it. Just say Kaddish is Sheker to Kaddish. So Atzi Shitim is to take the Shtus, the foolishness of the world, and transform it to Shtus of Kedusha. Because like we learned many times, if a branch is bent all the way to the left, and you want to get back to the middle, you can't just bend it to the middle, because they're going to go 45-degree angle. You have to bend it all the way 180 degrees, and then when you bend it back, then it comes back to the middle. So sometimes, especially when the world is, Rabbi used to speak about this a lot, when the world is crazy in shtus of evil, the only way to combat it is with shtus craziness of Kedusha. And like we learned many times, to tell you the truth, stopping a Jew in the street and asking him to put on tefillin is not really normal. It's not normal to do that, right? It wasn't done years ago. But years ago, you didn't have to do it. But now, because the world is so crazy, you have to do crazy things of Kedusha. It's interesting, when the Rebbe was in Paris, it was a famous story when the Rebbe was arrested in Paris. So, we put him, the Rebbe got up on top of a car and started talking, preaching. So the French police came and arrested him for doing it without a permit. So then they wanted somebody to validate this, whatever with the Rebbe. So that's when Rabbi Yosef Soloveitcher, J.B. Soloveitcher, came, and they were very good friends in Paris. They were in school together. So he said, I attest for him, that vouch for him. And he said, so then when they were going home, J.B. Soloveitcher said to the Rebbe, now you could become a Rebbe, because you were in prison. The criteria to become a Lubavitcher Rebbe is you have to be in prison. Okay. So he says 2 lines in the end. She'ezeu in Yishtus Kedusha. Nas Atzi Shitim, it becomes Atzi Shitim of the base of the Mishkan. Shviam Eisim Kroshim Ubein Mishkan LeYizbarach, that you build a home for Hashem. She'edei and Nas V'Shchanti B'Seichem B'Seich Kol Echad V'Echad. Okay, so what's the Rebbe again? The Rebbe is leading up to Eis Tes, now he's starting Eis Tes. He said, first of all, the Shechina was brought back down. Through the Mishkan, it was kept back down, and therefore the Mishkan was built from Kroshim, which is Sheker made into Kaddish, and Shtus made into Shtus of Kedusha. Okay. So he says, Mamshech Levayir Perikat Shi. Binyan HaKroshim explains in the 9th parak, which, like I said, this was the parak of Yutes, Lametes, and now. Binyan HaKroshim, after he explains, but Prakim HaKedmim. After he explains the details of the letters of Kufrei Shin. And here the Rebbe is not going into it, but in the original Friedrich Rebbe's Maamar, he's playing the letter Kuf is a false letter, Reish is a false letter, and Shin is a false letter. Because it says like this, in the Zohar, and all the letters came before Hashem to create the world with them. So Hashem started from the end. So when Tov was no good, whether Shin was no good. Why? Why is Shin, the letter Shin, no good? Because Shin is the first letter of the word Sheker. If Shin is the first letter of the word Sheker, Shin is not the letter to start the Torah with. Eventually it's not with Beis Bereshis, but okay. So he came to the letter Reish. Reish is also not a real letter because it has only one leg. There's an expression, the Gemara says, Sheker ein lo raglayim. Sheker doesn't have feet because a Reish has only one leg. And Kuf is also, what's a Kuf? Kuf is a Reish with an extended foot below the line. So again, it can't stand straight, like this thing. Okay, it doesn't stand straight. So he explains, in Kedusha, besides the letter Shin, by the way, the Gemara says, Shin, though, has a full base. Yeah. Now it have 2 legs, it has mamish a base. So the Gemara says, and the Zohar says, if you want to lie, start off with a little bit of truth and then they might believe you. That's why Sheker, the first letter of Sheker is a Shin that has a base and then it goes into the false letters. So the Zohar says, if you want to, gives you an advice how to lie. If you want to lie that people should believe you, start with a little bit of truth and then it goes into the falseness. So he said like this, there's a letter Dalid and Hey, and there's a letter Reish and Kuf. Okay? Reish and Dalet are very similar. Right? Reish and Dalet are similar. Not only are they similar in looks, they mean the same. Dal is poor, Rosh is poor. So Dalet and Reish both mean poor. What's the difference between a Reish and a Dalet? So the reish is rounded on top, and the dalet is a little bit of protrusion on top. Yeah. So it says like this: the top is machshava, the right leg is dibur, but the dalid has a little yud, that right, and the Hebrew goes right to left. So the beginning of the letter is on the right side, right? The top right is a yud, which is bittul. Okay, so that means the machshava and the dibur, the thought and the speech, are the level of bittul. That's why dalid is a letter of kedusha, Hashem echad. And the Gemara says, God forbid you change the dalet for a reish. It means kashem acher, other gods. So reish is symbolic of evil, dalet is symbolic of kedusha. Now, the third leg of the reish is a kuf, right? That's action, machshava, dibur, and maisa. When action comes down, so then it goes below the line, meaning drederein, like they say in Yiddish, into the ground. Yeah? Now, hey, on the other hand, is a dalid, so it's machshava dibur of kedusha, plus the hey is above the line, and there's a break between maisa and machshava and dibur. Like it's a brosiv yitzartiv afasisiv. There's a break between machshava dibur and action. So hey is a letter of kedusha. So he explains that keresh, not only the letter sheket, but shin's a bad letter because it gangs up with the falseness, and kuf and reish are false letters. Nevertheless, what does the Jew do? He transforms the keresh, the sheker, into a board of the Mishkan. Okay, so the Rebbe says, and then he says,
Rabbi, the dalet, even though there has a bittul of yud, it can still fall over the one leg. So how does it?
It doesn't fall over because of the bittul. The bittul means you're connected to kedusha. You know the story of Meir Plim Shaner, why he didn't fall down the mountain, because if you're bound up, you don't fall down. Okay. But the Torah says like this: Basi krashim la mishkan, atzi shitim oimdim, standing. Right? The krashim stood. So he explains at great length what does this word oimdim mean. So he says, the mitzvahs are called pillars. The Tayag mitzvahs deraisa, the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah, and Zay mitzvahs the Rabbanan, which is 630, which is called Tarach Amudei 620. Sorry, Tarach Amudei is called in Kabbalah the Tarach, the 620 Tov Reish Chaf is 620 pillars of light. And he explains, what does the pillar do? You have a pillar, right? This pillar, this beam over this pillar. What does it do? What does the pillar do? A pillar connects the roof, the ceiling and the floor. It connects higher, elokus, and it connects the world. So therefore he says, Kamei Kena mitzvahs are called amudim, which by the way is the same letters as eindim. Mitzvahs are the pillars, meaning the mitzvahs are the pillar that connects the ceiling with the floor. Mitzvahs connect Hashem and the world. Are called Atze Shitim Eindim Dafka. Because they connect Elokus with the world. Now Tarach, by the way, Tarach is the same letters as Kesed. Right? Why do mitzvahs connect Elokus with the world? We'll talk about it later. But why does the Torah mitzvahs connect the world with Elokus? Because it's the level of Kesed, which is higher than the world. Mitzvahs are above world. And therefore, because mitzvahs are higher than world, done in world, because you have to have physical bodies, physical mitzvahs, speech is physical, even thought mitzvahs are the bodies has to think, it's all physical. Because the mitzvahs are the pillars that connect the world with Elokus. Okay, so he says, we'll just start this. Dr. Rebbe explains that what does it mean, the will of Hashem, which is mitzvahs? This is what he says. The will of Hashem, remember like this. We learned already, where does the person begin? Where did the 10 spheres begin? 10 spheres begin from the brain, right? The person's creating the image of Hashem. So the brain is all the way on top of the head. I mean, it's covered by the skull, but it's on top of the head. That's the level of Chokhmah. And then you go into Bin, and then you go into the Midas and the heart, and then you go into the lower Midas, which are the feet and the rest of the body. Okay? So the Hishtalshel worlds begin from Chokhmah. The first level in the world is Chokhmah. What's above the world? Above the world is a level of willpower and enjoyment, Ratzin and Tainuk. That is not in any part of the body. Ratzin is not, like intellect is in the brain and feelings are in the heart. Ratzin is anywhere, all over. It's a Koyach Makifim. It's an encompassing level. So the Alter Rebbe explains in Kabbalah, the Ratzin of Hashem is called Keser. Why? Because Keser is above the head, but it goes on the head a little bit. Which, okay, we'll continue tomorrow, Mitzvah.